Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Mary and today I'm going to show you how to make this dragon. This is my dragon hatchling pattern that's a smaller version of my other baby dragon pattern, and this one is a no-sew pattern. So in this tutorial, I will tell you how to make each round of this dragon, and we'll still go over all the different stitches and skills with you at least once or twice, but unlike my previous tutorials where I do work almost pretty much every stitch of the full round with you, this time I'm going to skip forward on the parts that are repetitive. So please feel free to speed up or slow down the video to your preference, or check out my beginner plushie tutorials if you prefer that I work the full rounds with you step by step. Also, big shout out and thank you to all my Patreon members. I cannot be more grateful for you all, and you are a huge reason that I'm able to do what I do and continue to write patterns for you all. So to make this dragon, I'm using number 6 super bulky blanket yarn in pink, white, and 2 shades of green, just a little bit of number 4 worsted weight yarn in black for the nostrils. I'll also be using a 6.5mm hook and 2 18mm safety eyes, but you can replace these with a yarn that you have, a similar hook size, or for eyes you can also use felt, buttons, or even embroider them on with yarn. Just make sure that if you change the yarn size that you also use a hook that matches it. For plushies, it's usually recommended to size down on your hook size than what is on the yarn label to lessen the holes in your plushie. You'll also need some stuffing, a yarn needle, scissors, and I also definitely recommend a stitch marker if you have that. And with that said, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is make the base of the dragon. I'm using this bright green yarn, and we're going to start with a magic circle. So if you don't know how to do that, start by pinching the yarn between the thumb and the pointer finger and wrap the yarn around the pointer and the middle finger, forming an X. Then grab your hook, insert it underneath the X, and grab that lower strand of yarn on top of the middle finger and pull it underneath the X, exiting out the top. Rotate your hook again and go over the X this time in between those 2 strands of yarn, and grab that lower strand of yarn again and pull it through the loop on the hook. If you need a slower magic circle tutorial, I will link that in the description. So we're going to be making 6 single crochets inside of this magic circle. So to do that, insert your hook into the circle, make sure that you're going underneath both strands of yarn, and then grab the yarn and pull it through the circle, and then grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. We're going to repeat this again for a second single crochet, grab the yarn, pull it for the circle, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. Again, we're going to repeat this again for a third time, go into the circle, grab the yarn, pull it through the circle, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And we're going to keep repeating this 3 more times for 3 more single crochets. I am speeding up more here, but just make sure that you make 6 single crochets total inside of the magic circle. Once you're done, grab that yarn strand and tighten up the circle, and we can move on to round 2. So before we start on round 2, grab your stitch marker and place it into the last stitch that you just made. A stitch looks like a V shape or 2 strands of yarn running across the top, and it's the one attached directly behind the loop around your hook. So place a stitch marker here, and this will help mark the end of the round. For round 2, we're making an increase in every single stitch for a total of 12 stitches. So we're going to skip that knob in the front and go into that first stitch. Remember, a stitch looks like a V shape or 2 strands of yarn running across the top, and we're going to treat this like the magic circle. An increase is just 2 single crochets inside of the same stitch, so just like we did with the magic circle, grab the yarn, pull it for the stitch, and then grab the yarn and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. And then insert the hook into that same exact first stitch to make a second single crochet, pull the yarn for that stitch, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. So now moving to the second stitch, we're doing the same thing. So go into that next stitch, grab the yarn, pull it for that stitch, and then for the 2 loops on the hook, and then go into that same exact second stitch, grab the yarn, pull it for that stitch, and then for the 2 loops on the hook to make a second increase. Same thing for the rest of this. In the third stitch, we're making 2 single crochets to make an increase. Same thing in the fourth stitch, we're making 2 single crochets to make an increase. Same thing in the fifth stitch, 2 single crochets to make an increase. And then let's remove that stitch marker, and we're going to make our final increase in the sixth stitch, 2 single crochets inside of this stitch. We should now have 12 stitches total, so let's count them. Starting from that first stitch, attach the loop on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you also have 12 stitches too, that's great, and we can move on to round 3. So once again, grab your stitch marker and place it into that last stitch that we just made in round 2. And for round 3, we're just making 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around for a total of 12 stitches again. So going into that first stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. So grab the yarn, pull it for that stitch, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. Now insert your hook into the second stitch, and again we're just making one single crochet inside of the second stitch as well. And then same thing in the third stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the 2 loops on the hook, just one single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and let's remove that stitch marker and make our 12th one. Again, you should have 12 stitches total all the way around. And we're just going to be repeating the exact same thing in round 4. So again, 12 single crochets or 1 in each stitch all the way around for a total of 12 stitches. So go ahead and pause the video and do that, and I will meet you for round 5. So this is what your piece should look like now. You should have 4 rounds total. So starting from that magic circle, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 total rounds. If you also have 4 rounds too, we can move on to round 5. So grab your stitch marker and place it into the last stitch that you just made. And for round 5, we're making an increase in every single stitch all the way around, but only in the front loop only. You should end up with 24 stitches at the end. So usually we go through the full stitch just like that, but when we're working in the front loop only, we're only going to go through that front loop or that first strand of yarn of the stitch, and we're going to ignore the one in the back. So only going for that first loop, ignoring the one in the back. We're going to make our increases inside of only the front loops of the stitches. So grab the yarn and pull it through that front loop. And then grab the yarn again and pull for those 2 loops on the hook. Again, in the same exact front loop, we're going to make a second single crochet for an increase. And then same thing in the second stitch, going for the front loop only, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the 2 loops on the hook, and then do it a second time in that second front loop to make an increase. Same thing in the third stitch, going for the front loop only, we're going to make that first single crochet, and then again, we're going to make a second single crochet to make that increase. And we're going to continue doing this all the way around for the entire round, so just making an increase in the front loops only of every single stitch. I'm going to fast forward here, but just keep repeating this by making an increase in the front loop only of every single stitch until you reach that last stitch with the stitch marker. You should be making 12 increases total. You should end up with 24 stitches total. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And by working in the front loop only, your piece should be flaring out like this. For round 6, we're making 3 single crochets and an increase, and we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So if you haven't yet, place your stitch marker into the last stitch that you just made. And then we're going to go into that first stitch, the full stitch this time, and make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet. And then in that fourth stitch, we're going to be making an increase. We're going to make 1 single crochet to start, and then go into that same exact stitch again. We're going to make a second single crochet to make that increase. Repeat this again, 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then in that fourth stitch, we're making 2 single crochets to make that increase. So again, we're repeating the same thing, 1 single crochet in that first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then 2 single crochets in that fourth stitch to make that increase. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way around, so 3 more times for a total of 6 times. I'm going to speed it up here, but just keep repeating what we've been doing all the way until you hit that last stitch with the stitch marker. We should end up with 30 stitches total. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. In round 7, we're just making a single crochet in every single stitch all the way around for a total of 30 stitches. So place your stitch marker into that last stitch if you haven't yet. And we're just going to make one single crochet in the first stitch, one single crochet in the second stitch, one single crochet in the third stitch, one single crochet in the fourth stitch, and so on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to the next round, but make sure that you finish off the rest of your single crochets. Just one single crochet in every stitch in this round, and your 30th single crochet should land on the stitch with the stitch marker. So once again, place your stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made, and for round 8 we're making 27 single crochets and then a 5 double crochet bobble in white and then 2 single crochets. So go into that first stitch and make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, just 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, just 1 single crochet, and so on for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and then for the 27 single crochet, we're going to prepare for changing color in the next stitch. So go into that stitch and pull the yarn through once, but instead of finishing off that single crochet with the green yarn, we're going to instead finish it off with the white yarn. So grab the white yarn and pull it through the 2 loops on the hook, and then we're just going to tie off the white and the green yarn. This helps us secure it in place. And we're now going to make a 5 double crochet bobble in white. So to do that, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Then grab the yarn and we're going to pull it through the first 2 loops on the hook. And then we're going to repeat this again, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and then grab the yarn again and pull it through only the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this again, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and then for the first 2 loops on the hook. Once again, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and then for the first 2 loops on the hook. One last time, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and then through the first 2 loops on the hook. So you should now have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since we're changing color to green in the next stitch, we're going to instead grab the green yarn and we're going to pull that through all 6 loops on the hook. Now let's finish off the round and make our last 2 single crochets. Go into that next stitch and make 1 single crochet in the green. Pull on it tightly to really make that bobble pop. You can also push it out a little from the inside as well. And then we're going to remove that stitch marker and make our last single crochet of this round. You should still have 30 stitches total. So I am going to cut off the white yarn here and tie the 2 ends together. Now grab your stitch marker and place it into the last stitch that we just made, and for round 9 we're making 2 single crochets, then we're changing color to white to make that 5 double crochet bobble, and then back to green for 27 single crochets. So go into that first stitch and make 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet as well in the second stitch, but again, since we're changing color, we're only going to do half of that stitch. Then we're going to grab the white and finish off that single crochet. Tie off the white and green yarn to secure them in place. And once again, we're making a 5 double crochet bobble in white. So wrap the yarn around the hook. We're going to go into the stitch and then grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch and then pull the yarn for the first 2 loops on the hook. So just like before, we're going to keep repeating this 4 more times for a total of 5 times until you eventually have 6 loops on the hook. I'm so sorry that the camera angle is a little bit off center here. I really hope that y'all can still see enough. It is the same thing as the first double crochet bobble if you want to rewind to that. Once you have 6 loops on the hook, change color back to green and pull the green yarn through all 6 loops on the hook. And then once again, I'm going to tie off the white yarn and tie the 2 white yarn tails together. Now just finish out the rest of the round by making 27 single crochets, 1 in each stitch. You should still have 30 stitches total at the end of this round. So we just finished making the horns, and now in round 10 we're going to start making the feet of the dragon. So in round 10 we're making 12 single crochets, a 6 double crochet bobble, 4 single crochets, a 6 double crochet bobble, and then 12 single crochets. So make 1 single crochet in that first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in the fourth stitch, and so on until we reach 12. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're not changing colors this time, so we're just going to go ahead and finish that stitch with the green yarn. And then just like before, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into that stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch, and then pull the yarn again for the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this again, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch, and then for the first 2 loops on the hook. And we're going to repeat this 4 more times for a 6 double crochet bobble. There's our third one. There's the fourth one. There's the fifth one. And finally, there's the sixth one. And now when you have 7 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, grab the yarn and pull it through all 7 loops. That's how you make a 6 double crochet bobble. So going to the next stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the next stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. Again, 1 single crochet in the third stitch. And then finally, we're going to make our 4th single crochet, and then again, we're going to make a 6 double crochet bobble. So just repeat the same exact thing that we just did earlier. Once you have 7 loops on the hook, go ahead and grab the yarn and pull it through all 7 loops to complete the bobble. Now go ahead and make a single crochet in the next stitch. Same thing in the stitch after that. 1 single crochet in the third stitch as well, and so on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and finally the 12th one should land on the one with the stitch marker. Again, you should be left with 30 stitches in this round. So for the next 4 rounds, rounds 11 to 14, we're just making 30 single crochets in every single round, so just 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around for the next 4 rounds. It's the same thing that we did in round 7, so go ahead and complete these next 4 rounds and I'll meet you at the start of round 15. Welcome back. So this is what your dragon should look like now. You should have 14 rounds total, so let's count them starting from that magic circle in the front. That's our first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So for round 15, we're making 13 single crochets, a 6 double crochet bobble, 4 single crochets, a 6 double crochet bobble, and then 11 single crochets. This round is going to make our second set of feet. So going into that first stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet again. Same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the fourth stitch, 1 single crochet in the fifth stitch, and so on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now once again we're making a 6 double crochet bobble just like we did before with the first feet in the front. So start by wrapping the yarn around the hook, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, go into that stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the first 2 loops on the hook, again we're going to do the same exact thing, going for the first 2 loops on the hook, and we're going to repeat this 3 more times. There's our fourth one. There's our fifth one. And finally, our sixth one. Once again, you should have 7 loops on the hook. Grab the yarn and pull it through all 7 loops to finish off that bobble. Now we're going to make 4 single crochets, so 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then finally 1 more single crochet in the fourth stitch. And then once again, we're just making that 6 double crochet bobbles, just repeat the same thing as before. And then when you have those 7 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through all 7 loops. And then we're just going to finish off the round by making 1 single crochet in every single stitch. It should be 11 single crochets total. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and finally, let's remove that stitch marker and make our last single crochet here of this round. You should still have 30 stitches total. For round 16, we're just making 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around for a total of 30 stitches again. So going to that first stitch, just make 1 single crochet, same thing in the second stitch, same thing in the third stitch, just 1 single crochet all the way around. There's the fourth one, fifth, sixth, seventh, and I'm just going to skip forward here, but just continue to make 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around, and that 30th single crochet should land on the stitch with the stitch marker. So once again, place the stitch marker into the last stitch that you just made, and for round 17 we're making 3 single crochets, a decrease, and we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So go into that first stitch and just make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, 1 single crochet. same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet, and then here we're going to make a decrease. I like to do the invisible decrease method, so that's what I'm going to teach you. To make an invisible decrease, we're going to go for the front loop only of the next 2 stitches. So just like what we did in round 5, we're skipping that back loop, only going through that front loop, and then we're going to go for the front loop again of the next stitch as well. So the front loops of 2 stitches. Then we're going to grab the yarn and pull it through those 2 front loops, and then grab the yarn again and pour for the 2 loops on the hook. That's how to make an invisible decrease. So let's repeat this pattern again. So we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then again an invisible decrease in the 4th and 5th stitch. So we're going to grab the front loop only of that 4th stitch, and also the front loop only of the 5th stitch. And then we're going to grab the yarn and pull it for those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And we're just going to keep repeating this, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then again we're making that invisible decrease, going for the front loops only the next 2 stitches, pull the yarn through, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. So I am speeding up now, but we're just repeating the same exact pattern, 3 single crochets and 1 decrease, and we're going to do this 3 more times until we reach the end of the round, so it should be 6 times total. Once you're finished with this round, you should have 24 stitches. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We're now going to take a break from crocheting to add some stuffing and attach the eyes. So start by adding a little bit of stuffing into that snout portion of the dragon. And then we're going to place the eyes between round 6 and 7. So starting from that first round where that magic circle is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So place the first eye between round 6 and 7. It should be roughly lined up with the horns of the dragon. Then we're going to count 9 stitches down the round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're going to place our second eye there. The inner edges of the eyes should be roughly lined up with the outer corners of the horns. Once you're happy with the placement, go ahead and secure the eyes in place by adding the backings. Then add some more stuffing to fill up most of the plushie. Don't fill it up all the way though, because we still have a few more rounds to work and we will be stuffing as we go. A tip that I have is to use smaller chunks of stuffing. That way you can more easily shape the stuffing to the shape of the plushie and you won't as easily overstuff it. So let's continue on with crocheting. Let's add our stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made in the previous round. And for round 18, we're making 3 decreases, 16 single crochets, and 1 decrease for a total of 20 stitches. So going into that first stitch, let's make a decrease, or I like to do the invisible decrease method. So I'm going for the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Grab the yarn, pull it through those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And then we're going to repeat this again for a second decrease or invisible decrease. Once again, we're making another decrease, or as I like to do, the invisible decrease. And now we're going to make 16 single crochets. So go into the next stitch and just make a single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, just 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the fourth stitch, and so on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And we're going to finish off with one last decrease. So let's remove that stitch marker and let's go into the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Grab the yarn, pull it through those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And we should now have 20 stitches total, so let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now grab your stitch marker and place it into the last stitch that we just made, and for round 19 we're making 2 decreases and 16 single crochets for a total of 18 stitches. Now go into that first stitch and we're going to make that decrease, or an invisible decrease like I like to do. Same thing again, another invisible decrease, or you can do the regular decrease as well if you know how to do that. And then we're going to make 16 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, 1 single crochet in the next stitch as well, and so on until you finish your 16 single crochets or until you reach the end of the round. That 16th single crochet of this round should land on that stitch with a stitch marker. You should now have 18 stitches total, so let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So like before, place that stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made, and before we start on round 20, let's add some stuffing to start filling up the rest of the plushie. So as these rounds are getting smaller and smaller, make sure to add stuffing as you go. And then for round 20, we're making 9 decreases for a total of 9 stitches. So go into those first 2 stitches and make that decrease, or I'm doing the invisible decrease. Same thing in the next 2 stitches, we're making another decrease. There's our third invisible decrease. There's the 4th one. There's the 5th one. The 6th one, 7th, almost done, 8, and finally let's remove that stitch marker and make our 9th and final decrease of this round. So we should now have 9 stitches total, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Add some stuffing before we move on to round 21, and for round 21 we're making 1 single crochet and 1 decrease, and we'll repeat this 3 times for a total of 6 stitches. So go into that first stitch and we're just going to make 1 single crochet, and then next we're going to make a decrease, so going through those front loops only the next 2 stitches. Grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the 2 loops on the hook, back to 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then a decrease. Back to 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and finally let's make our final decrease of this round. You should end up with 6 stitches total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now add some stuffing, try to fill it as much as possible before we move on to the very last round, round 21. After we make round 21, the opening will be quite small on our plushie. So for our final round, we're just making 3 decreases for a total of 3 stitches. So go into the first 2 stitches into the front loops only and make that invisible decrease, or you could do the regular decrease if you like. And then same thing again to make a second decrease. And finally, let's make our final decrease of this entire base of the dragon. And if you're able to, try to squeeze in any last stuffing now, and then we're going to fasten off. To fasten off, grab the yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook. And then you're going to want to pull out some extra yarn so we can use it to sew the plushie closed. Cut off the extra yarn, and then we're going to pull the yarn all the way through. And then we're going to use the needle to sew the plushie closed. If you don't have a needle, you can probably also use your hook to pull the yarn back and forth. So push the needle in through the first stitch, and then back out the second stitch, and then back in the first stitch, and then pull the yarn tightly, and that should close up the plushie. I like to sew for the plushie a few more times just to make the yarn more secure and to help neaten up the stitches. And then a last step that I personally like to do is I like to thread the needle through a nearby spot, but leave a little bit of slack and then push the needle through that slack and pull tight. And then I'll knot the yarn a few times. I'm going to hide the knot inside of the plushie, so I want it to be big enough where it won't easily fall out of the plushie, but also not too big where I can't even pull it through. And then I'm just using the needle to pull the knot through the plushie to hide it inside. Once the yarn is pulled all the way through, if your yarn is also really short like mine, you can go ahead and puff up the plushie to hide it inside. Otherwise, cut off the excess yarn and then puff up the plushie to fully hide the yarn inside. And we are done with the base of the dragon. Now we're going to crochet the spikes of the dragon. Using this darker green yarn, I'm going to start with a slip knot. So to do that, cross the end of the yarn over the working yarn, making a loop. And then we're going to place our 2 fingers into the loop and fold the loop over and grab that working yarn and pull it through the loop. Tighten it up, and that's how you make a slip knot. So place the hook into the loop and then pull on the working yarn to tighten it up. And we're going to make the spikes up the back of the dragon. So I like to place the needle at the midpoint just to make sure that when I'm crocheting that the spikes are straight. But this is totally optional. And then we're going to insert the hook into the tail of the dragon. Then grab the yarn and we're going to start with a slip stitch. So grab the yarn and pull it through the tail of the dragon and then directly through the loop on the hook. That's how to make a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 2, so grab the yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook and then do it again for a second chain. And then we're going to make a double crochet, so wrap the yarn around the hook. And then we're going to go into the next stitch of the next round of the dragon's back. So go into that next stitch on the dragon's tail. And then we're going to grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch. We should now have 3 loops on the hook. Grab the yarn and pull through those first 2 loops. And then grab the yarn and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. That's how to make a double crochet. And then we're going to repeat this again. I'm going to show you from the side this time. We're going to go in for that next stitch on the dragon's body. And then we're going to make a slip stitch. So grab the yarn and pull it through the body and then directly through the loop on the hook. And then we're going to chain 2. So grab the yarn and pull it for the loop on the hook for our first chain and then repeat it again for a second chain. And then our double crochets, wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the next stitch on the dragon's body, grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch. And then grab the yarn and pull for the first 2 loops on the hook, and then grab the yarn and pull for the last 2 loops on the hook. We're just going to keep repeating this, so go into that next stitch and make a slip stitch. And then you're just going to keep repeating this with a chain 2, a double crochet, a slip stitch, chain 2, double crochet, and so on until you reach where you want the spikes to end. For me, I have it reaching to round 6 of the dragon's face or right before where the eyes start. Just make sure that when you get to the very end that you end with a slip stitch to finish off that dragon spike. And when you're done, fasten off. And then go ahead and cut off that extra yarn and pull the yarn all the way through. And then you can either weave in the tails or just hide them inside of the plushie. Personally, I do like to make some knots before I hide it into the plushie. This is just for my peace of mind. And then cut off the excess yarn and puff off the plushie to hide the yarn inside. And then just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. We're getting close to finish now. Let's make the wings. The wings are going to be made in the same method as the spikes. So again, start with a slip knot. So fold the yarn over, making that loop shape, and then place your fingers inside of the loop and fold the loop over to grab that working yarn and pull it through the loop. Now pull tight, and then place the loop onto the hook and pull the working yarn to tighten it up. We're going to start crocheting the wings 3 stitches away from the spikes and 2 rounds behind the horns, and we're going to be working downwards. I'm going to turn my dragon over now because we're working downwards, and then we're going to go into that first stitch and we're going to make 1 single crochet. And then we're going to move to the stitch below that, so moving down, we're going to make another single crochet. Now we're going to work in the opposite directions. I'm going to flip the dragon over and we're going to make a chain. So grab the yarn and pull it for the loop on the hook. And we're going to make 2 increases for a total of 4 stitches. So we are going to skip that second loop from the hook because that's our turning chain and go into the next stitch. And in this stitch, we're going to make 2 single crochets to make an increase. And then again in the next stitch, we're also going to be making 2 single crochets to make an increase. So we should end up with 4 stitches total for round 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to make another chain. And then we're going to turn the piece again to work down the other side. Again, we're skipping that chain and we're going to go into that first stitch and we're just going to make 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way down for a total of 4 stitches. I made a little hiccup here, so I'm sorry if this single crochet looks strange, but it is a normal single crochet. So you should have 4 stitches total, and then for round 4, again, we're going to chain 1 and then turn the piece over. And then once again, we're going to skip that chain in the front. So go into the actual first stitch, or technically the second chain from the hook, and we're going to make 1 single crochet in every single stitch once again for a total of 4 stitches. And then for round 5, we're doing something a little different. So this time we're going to chain 3. So grab the yarn and pull for the loop on the hook. Repeat this the second time and then a third time. And then we're going to skip all the chains and that first stitch down there, and we're going to go straight into that second stitch. And we're going to make a slip stitch. So go into that stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch, and then for the loop on the hook. And then we're going to make 2 more slip stitches, 1 each in the last 2 stitches. So go into that next stitch and again make a slip stitch. And then the final stitch, we're again making a slip stitch. Let's fasten off, grab the yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook and leave a little bit of extra yarn, and then cut off the extra yarn and pull it all the way through the loop on the hook. So weave in the ends here, or what I like to do with plushies is I like to use my needle to weave the yarn all the way to where the plushie is and then hide the rest of the yarn inside of the plushie. To save time, I also like to weave the yarn tail towards the other yarn tail, that way I can knot them together and hide them at the same time. And we are done with making the first wing. So to make the second wing, just do the same exact thing on the other side. Last thing that we need to do is to add the details. So let's make the nostrils. I'm using number 4 worsted weight yarn so I can make thinner lines for the nostrils. But if you don't have a thinner yarn, that's totally okay too. You can use the same sized yarn. The nostrils will just be a little bit thicker. So we're going to place the nostrils on round 2 of the snout on both sides. So insert the needle behind round 2 to start. And then we're going to move downwards and exit in front of round 2. Push the needle all the way through, and then we're going to bring the yarn upwards into that same spot that we had originally entered through. And then we're going to move to the other side, again exiting behind round 2. And then we're going to bring the yarn down in front of round 2. And then we're going to exit out the same spot that we originally entered from. That's how we make our nostrils. And then we're just going to tie off the ends and hide them inside of the plushie. If you have extra yarn sticking out, then cut off the extra yarn. Now let's add the blush, so cut off a piece of this pink yarn. We don't need too much. And we're going to place the blush starting from 1 stitch below the outer corner of the eye. So 1 stitch down. And then we're going to insert our needle and just exit 1 round over towards the back. So 1 stitch over. And then we're going to bring the yarn around 1 more time. And just like the nostrils, we're just going to tie off the strands of yarn and hide them inside of the plushie. If the blush gets pulled in too much, you can use your needle to pull out the yarn a little bit to make the blush a little bit more prominent. And then we're just going to do the same thing on the other side to make the second blush. Congratulations! You finished your dragon. Let me know what you named it in the comments, and thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. If you liked it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video. It really means a lot to me and lets me make more content like this for you. Until next time!